My favorite thing right now is people say, well, I wanted to write better copy. So I took Dean Graziosi, Alex Hermosi, and, Amy Porterfield and said, write my copy like those three people, and they're like, and it's done, When AI creates something for you, you don't actually have ownership of it. You don't believe in it the same way as when you create it yourself. Getting a distillation of something is not the same as being part of the creation, translation, and it leads to ultimately the transformation of something. And so that leads to even more problems with actually getting results for your students.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Shift, episode 3.
If you're keeping score.
And my name is Blue Melnick, and next to me here is my lovely wife, Barry Baumgardner. How's it going, Barry Baumgardner?
Indeed. So good. You know why it's so good?
Tell me.
Because this is the best topic today. I'm so fired up about this topic, but also because today, the day we're shooting, is only a few days away from our next beach day. And
yes.
I don't know about you guys back at home, but I love nothing more than a beach day. I love it so much that this past Monday, even though it was a work day, I'm like, what if it was a work from the boat day?
So why don't we, you can't just let that one hang like that.
No?
I think we have to dive into what happened because
the real story behind the story.
Yeah.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Definitely. Barry and I have a pontoon boat, and which is a fancy way of saying we have a raft with a motor on the back of it, right?
It's a nice raft.
It is a nice raft, but it's a pontoon boat in the end. It's a party boat. So we have in Murrells Inlet, which is where our house is, we have a slip for it. And we also have a dock where our actual house is, but you can't always get to the dock because of tides.
We live and die by the tides.
We live and die by the tides, right? Low tide, we have mud. High tide, we have water. Abundant water.
It's scarcity or abundance.
Exactly. There's no middle ground. Well, there is. Middle ground is called mid-tide. So what winds up happening is if we come home at low tide, we have to dock at the slip, right? And so we docked at the slip on Sunday night. And Monday morning we get up, and before we left for Charleston, we were like, okay, let's move the boat back to the house, which is what we typically do. And it was a beautiful day. It was a gorgeous day. And it was one of those days that I don't know if I've ever told you this, but my mom, when we would go skiing, and it was like one of those spectacular days, like, just below freezing, sunny, beautiful snow, she would call it a champagne day. And it was...
I always loved your mom.
It was a champagne day. And except on the water. And you looked at me and you said... What did you say, Barry Baumgardner?
Why are we racing back to the office? Mm-hmm. Why don't we work from the boat today? It was just one of those days, you don't know how many days like that you're going to get. We've had a lot of stormy days this summer. I feel like every time we go on the boat, there's a stormy day. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, and it's funny, I was in full hair and makeup. I gotten ready because we were coming to the office. I had a whole day of calls. So I kind of gotten up and done all the things that women do to try and be presentable. And I'm like, no, let's run home, put our bathing suits on, go to the beach for the day. And we did, and worked from the beach. It was amazing. You know what I think of it? This is what I think it was and how it ties into you. Mm-hmm. Is it's a day creators live for. Because when you're a creator, you're like, I own this. I run the show. I don't know about you. Sometimes we work so hard as creators. It's kind of like, you forget. It becomes a job. It becomes a well-paid job. It's like you forget that you have agency to decide whether you're going to work that day or not.
Well,
you just get so used to working. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is why we started our business. This is why we do this, so that we could take, even if we have to work on the boat, we're on the boat. Let's do it.
Yeah. So 2 computers, 2 phones, a battery bank.
That battery bank.
Yeah.
That's a new addition to our pontoon boat, a battery bank. That is the best.
It gives both of us about 1.5 charges on our respective computers and phones. So really, it allows us to go all day.
My favorite was the guy that walked by that was like, "Are you on your computer?" And I'm like, "I sure am." And he's like, "It's such a sunny day." I'm like, "What do you think pays for the boat?" It's like, true that. So anyway, it was awesome.
We really are those weirdos on the beach.
We are always the people on the
but
beach.
admittedly, you know, this is another thing for entrepreneurs, right? It's a life of one. Who isn't a weirdo? Like I can't explain to our neighbors what we do as a business.
I can't even explain to my mom what I do. My business. She's still mystified.
Yeah.
She still does not understand how I worked with Matthew McConaughey. That is a mystery to her. She's like, tell me again how that worked out. So anyway.
Well, and I have to tell you one of my favorite stories about that. And I promise we'll get into the delivery gap.
Yes.
Right.
The
shift in just a moment.
This is part of it though.
But one of my favorite conversations and favorite stories is about your grandmother. And how she used to say to you, I don't know why they make you work so hard. And your response was always, Grandma, who do you think is they? They is me. I'm self-employed. It's my business. And
that
she
was
never
hard for her to understand.
No, she never quite.
She didn't come from that generation, so she really was mystified. Why do they make you work so hard? You should really talk to them. I'm like,
like talk to myself. I should really talk to me and see if I can work a little.
Kind of again on the creator side. If my grandmother could see where I am today, she'd be so blown away.
Yeah. Both of us, like our parents,
yes.
We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, our parents who have passed would truly be blown away. And that is, it does tie into the shift, because why do we do this, right? We do it because we want to serve. We do it because we believe that we have something to share that will deliver real impact. But if we're being really honest, we also do this because we want a purpose-driven payday. We want income as much as we want impact. We want to change our life and change our legacy. And if you have children, you want to change it for the ones coming after you. But you know, for us without kids, it's like I do wake up every day thinking I am so blessed. I'm so grateful I get to do this, that I get to do this. And I really appreciate that I'm paid so well to do it.
Well, and I also think that some of us are completely unemployable.
Yeah, there's
like
that.
I am definitely that. Like I would
no
be
doubt you
the absolute worst employee. Like nobody should hire me. Nobody.
I think that often.
And thank God
about you.
I don't have to. Do you think that as you think to yourself, I have to hire you?
It is a full-time job to wrangle you. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, there is that.
So, but we're both unemployable, as you know, as many entrepreneurs are. That's why we strike out on our own, carve our own space,
so
make our own shift.
Let's talk about the shift, because in the last episode, we talked a little bit about how the shift that's taking place right now in the online education space, in the coaching and consulting space, isn't something that's new, right? It's happened multiple times over the course of the last 115 years. If you haven't seen episode 2 of The Shift, pause this right now, go back an episode and watch that, because it explains the 5 or 6 times that there have been significant moments in the last 115 years or so where a shift like the one that's taking place right now has happened, and how it's always just not been like a complete blow up of the education space, but how it's usually a delivery method that changes. And really, really good episode, if I do say so myself. But this week, we want to talk a little bit about what's causing that shift. And I think the biggest thing is that the promise we used to make as creators to our students was, I'm going to show up 100% for my half of what I have to do, and you show up 100% for your half. My job is to show you what's possible and to show you how to do it. Your job is to then execute it in your life or your business. So
that's the way it's worked for a really long time. And you know, if I really think about, I have sympathy for the creator, right? Because we believe it when we say it. I remember the first time thinking, I'm onto something. I have a method. This method works. I'd been testing it on our private clients. I had a lot of people come up to me at events and say, I can't wait till someday I can hire you. You work with the best in this space. It's on my bucket list. Someday when I can afford it, I'm going to hire you. And I was flattered, but it also broke my heart, because they're waiting for something that you're like, oh, I would just wish I could get this method in more people's hands. That, of course, then leads you to create the course, which I did. It leads you to host the event, which I did. It leads you to launch the coaching program, which I did. And with the best of intentions, you were trying to take everything you know and package it up and price it reasonably and get it into as many people's hands as possible so that more people can use it. Because yes, we want to make money, but we also, there's only so many hours you can trade. I mean, there's only so many private clients you can have. So most of us end up going for scale, and we want that impact and that legacy. We want that income. So what do? You scale it. But the minute you do all the things that work that made the bespoke service work so well.
Like the one-on-one service.
The one-on-one service. Yeah. Like one-on-one, with my clients, my private clients, it's like my brain, my lens, my experience on their business. We're always taking the method and tailoring it to their business. But the minute you scale it, you're like, I'm going to teach you, and then you're going to apply it to your business. And that is where it all starts to break.
And interestingly, this model of teaching, right? This isn't something that's unique to the coaching and consulting space, right? Or the online education space. This is how education really has been for hundreds of years, right? If you're talking about teaching at the front of the classroom and teaching to a bunch of students, whether that's adult education, right? Post-secondary education, if it's, college, if it's the trades, generally speaking, we teach or we get taught in generalities, something that is intended to work for all of the students. And then when we graduate, we have to take that knowledge, that education that we got, and we have to apply it to the world and the life that we're about to lead. So this agreement, if you will, between educator and student isn't something that's unique to coaching and consulting, and it isn't new, but it is changing.
It's changing, and it feels kind of broken right now. But I think it's really that the student has changed, how they're consuming information has changed, how quickly they want results has changed, and how they want to get the information in order to get the results has changed. If you think about it, a lot of people are blaming AI for a lot of things. I think it's less AI than this idea of instant gratification. I want you not just to give it to me, I want you to translate it for me. I want it to feel bespoke. I want it at a scaled rate, group rate, but I need the bespoke service. I want you to meet me in my moment of need. The minute I try to translate what you're teaching me is where everything breaks down. And up until now, there wasn't a solution for that.
Totally. And, I think the reality is, like you said, it's not just AI that is causing this, but even pre-AI, this move from even entertainment going from long form to shorter form, right? Where maybe I used to spend more time on YouTube. Now I'm spending more time on TikTok or on Instagram or YouTube Shorts, where it's much faster. And, this swiping, not swipe left, swipe right. That's something different entirely, but more like—
You've never done that, right?
I've never done that.
No, definitely not in the last.
So, oh my gosh,
15 years. The answer to that question is no.
Of course not. What are you talking about? Anyway, swipe left, swipe right, different conversation. This is more swipe past, right? So you watch this 30-second video, 60-second video. Here are 5 tips to do blah, 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 blah. 5 tips to have better hair. I clearly did not actually watch that video today, but okay, here it is. You get this instant gratification. You look at it and you're like, oh, that's an interesting idea. I've even found myself recently. I'm a huge fan of a couple of creators that release YouTube videos, and like cooking YouTube videos, right? Cooking and bartending are my kind of favorite creators.
That is definitely your jam.
It is definitely my jam. And I actually find myself recently gravitating more towards their short form content, like their reels, their shorts on IG or on TikTok.
Like, I want you to teach me the recipe, but
I want
teach it to me faster.
Faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that we're all kind of dealing with, both as students, right? As people who want to learn, but also as coaches. Like, our students want the transformation. They still want the transformation. They just want it
your method.
faster.
They want, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And, I think there's this thing, it's easy to think that it is just the distraction society we're in, that there's so much overwhelm. There's so many things to look at. And it is. I don't know about the last time you've gone through Instagram, but I go on for like decorating pictures. And before you know it, there's a hair inspiration. This is why your hair is not thicker. This is what you need to do for menopause. This is the workout tip that you should be using. This is the recipe that'll fix everything. This is the vitamin that you should be on. Before you gone from like, oh, interesting. Oh, I should consider that. I'm going to look at that. And then it's like so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've had these moments where my brain just short circuits and like, I got to get out. I can't even take all of this in.
I have to walk away from my computer and take the dogs for a walk.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to, go touch ground. Right. But I think it's tempting to think that they're distracted. I don't think it's so much that they're distracted. I think it's real that they're distracted, but I think even more they're disoriented.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even actually know. And when there's so many experts, when everyone's an expert, it's kind of like no one's an expert. So you have too many experts, and the whole idea of being a creator is that you're going to build trust with the people that you're meant to help, right? Like there is a trust you're going to build. So they start to go, okay, out of the sea of experts, you're my expert. Like I really believe in you. I like the way that you show up, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you communicate, the way you share, whatever it might be that really resonates with your right fit person. And so trust is a big piece of standing out from that sea of experts. But then it's like the trust gets broken when you teach them and they don't know how to translate it. That's how they get even more disoriented. Too many experts finally think I found my expert, follow my expert. And now I'm like starting to learn, but the minute I have a question, I'm stuck in my moment of need.
Yeah.
And I want instant gratification. So I don't have the tolerance for that I used to have. I don't have the patience for that I used to have as the student.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. I was having a conversation with somebody who's in the publishing industry. I'll just say that because I don't want to reveal who it was, although most of you
out them.
I don't want to out them. Most of them would know. Most of you would probably know the publishing company, and you'd probably know the person if I mentioned them.
Successful publisher.
Very successful. And we were having a conversation around, why do we think sales for online courses or launches seem to be down? And they're not down universally, by the way. That's actually not accurate. But in some cases, they're down. And one of the things that we were talking about was back to disorientation for a moment. It's been a wild 6 years, right? If you think about where we are in the United States, but also globally. But let's just, for now, we are in the United States currently. The disorientation and the distraction and the like roller coaster of everything that has taken place over the course of the last 6 years, right? You started with, I mean, you can go back a little bit further, but you start with COVID. Right. And COVID is a massive disruption to how we all live. Right. It's a massive disruption to how we live. It's a massive disruption to fear. Right. Like fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Right. It's a massive disruption to the toilet paper industry. There's all sorts of
the trust that we were talking about.
So many things that just kind of were like, we were asked to absorb as humans, right? As a society, a tremendous amount during COVID.
But it wasn't just the COVID. It was also all the things around it.
It was
and then the pace of change after it.
Well, and then let's actually talk about what happened right after COVID. So you go from COVID, and then you go from COVID into this new election cycle, like 2023, 2024. And I don't care what side you're on. It was a wild election cycle, like definitely more bizarre than perhaps we've seen in the past.
I think that's fair.
And then you go from that to the first 6 months or so of the administration that we currently have. And one of the things that is very, very true in the United States, one of the biggest employers in the United States is the U.S. government. And there were a lot of people who worked for the U.S. government that were unsure of what was going to happen next. And when you take into account...
And this is crazy. And I remember hearing this on one of my podcasts, and we're finding out what was going on with their department via a tweet from the president versus that typical bureaucratic chain.
Yeah.
And I remember them saying, like, we've never had a president before where the president's ahead of the policy or the policy makers. And, that was a radical shift.
So when you think about it, this world that we have lived in for the last 6 years, and this is not a political statement, it is just the reality of life, has been very disorienting.
Very disorienting.
And I think, this is what we were talking about. This publisher and I were chatting about. We think it's harder for people to make decisions. And then you layer that on top of the fact that they want the outcome, they want the result, they want the transformation still. They still want those things, but they want it faster, easier, and simpler than they've ever been able to get it in the past.
And so they might skip a book and instead just go to ChatGPT or Claude and say, tell me the short version, or they might skip the course. I don't have time for the course. So I'm just going to log on and have it give me the distillation, and I'll just get the big idea because I don't have time for the thing. But that's an interesting thing. Like MIT did this study and it was fascinating because it talked about the cost of all of that is this cognitive debt. Like when AI creates something for you, you don't actually have ownership of it. You don't believe in it the same way as when you create it yourself. So getting a distillation of something is not the same as being part of the creation, translation, and it leads to ultimately the transformation of something. And so that leads to even more problems with actually getting results for your students, is that they're trying to get this distillation. And my favorite thing right now is people say, well, I wanted to write better copies. So I took Dean Graziosi, Alex Hormozi, and, Amy Porterfield and said, write my copy like those three people, and they're like, and it's done, and it's just, but you didn't learn it. You didn't study it. You just asked AI to create it. And the MIT study said that cognitive debt is actually eroding our confidence and trust in our own ability to make decisions.
Well, I thought it was really interesting. The part of that study that I personally thought was the most interesting was the fact that they studied the brain while people were going through the process of creation, right? And the people who were using AI to create, it's like their brain was like dead. Like there's no not dead, but activity wise, it was really limited. And then those people who were not using AI, their activity, their creative centers were a lot more active. And, it's funny, you and I were talking about, for these podcasts, we sit down and we have some notes for them and we have an idea of where we want to go. But we've been using AI to support us in creating the one sheets, if you will, for where we're headed. And the thing that's really interesting to me, and you kind of said it earlier when we were going through this, is you're reading, it's like I'm living somebody else's life when AI does too much of the work. Like at some point I have to turn on my big, beautiful brain, as you say it, right? And I actually have to make changes, because if I don't make changes to this, well, first off, it's never going to be 100% me. But more importantly, you don't really absorb it the way
I'll go one step further. I couldn't even compute it. And we were talking about this right before we jumped in front of the camera. I was like, we had, 3 or 4 pages per podcast, and I would get it. And I would make a true effort to try and read it, dissect it, and absorb it. And it was almost like my brain just could not take it in. And I was like, am I the only one having this experience? Like, no, I'm having the same problem. It wasn't until we sat down and thought, what's the big idea? How do we want to break it down? What would you want to talk about? What would I want to talk about? And simplified our ideas to one sheet, that it really got life. Like it really had life. Before that, it was just random words on a paper strung together.
Oh, totally.
And it's not, it's not that it was AI slop. It was well written. It just wasn't landing.
And I mean, if you think about, I'll give you a little behind the scenes of what takes place here in the podcast studio before we actually press record and before we actually start, is Barry and I would go through the 3 or 4 pages, and we would talk out what we were actually going to talk about. And then eventually what would wind up happening is the piece of paper would just get thrown on the floor, because we're not even following it at that point. This was just a starting point. And great, it got us off the blank page. But I felt as though, to a certain extent, we had to do just as much work as as we would have had we started without it entirely.
Well, and the MIT study was like lower brain activity, lower recall. Like it's been proven that when your brain shuts down like that because of AI, that so you can imagine what your students are going through if that's the experience they're having and they're trying to take anything that you might stand for or you might teach or the problem they're trying to solve and run it through AI. And so the creator challenge right now is how do you reach your student? How do you stand out as the expert? How do you build their trust? And then how do you deliver the information in a way that they can consume it, digest it, believe in it, and then take action on it? And it gets back to that moment of need again. I think where the chain breaks is where you cannot really process everything coming your way. The translation piece for me is I hear the words you're saying. I understand theoretically what you're talking about, and I understand the philosophy. I believe in it. I even want to do it. But when I go try to apply it to my own unique situation, I can't translate it to me. And I want you to help me do that. In the old days, I think students were willing to say, oh, I can't wait for the Ask Me Anything call, or I can't wait for the tomorrow morning, I'll post it in the Facebook group, or that once a month, Q&A call or laser coaching call. I'll get it solved there. Now, today's student is like, no, now I'm learning it now. How do I fix this now? How do you meet me in I've started calling it moment of need. How do you meet me in my moment of need? The moment that I'm learning and I'm processing, and now I'm trying to apply it to me, and I need help. I need that one-to-one coaching from you. And I don't want to pay a fortune for it. I still want to pay the same thing I used to pay for a book or for a course or for group coaching, but I want a way better experience, and I want instant gratification in my moment of need.
Yeah, and I think what's starting to happen for a lot of people is the extra videos, the extra modules, the extra stuff in the courses. It's starting to feel like homework, right? It's starting to feel a little bit like a burden. And AI is fantastic, but nobody needs just more content, more content. And I think this actually ties back to something we talked about in the last episode, which is this idea of massively open online courses.
The Stanford thing.
The Stanford thing, exactly. So what happened back in like 2012 when Stanford opened up essentially their entire curriculum online on the internet for basically free, people started to think, and there were some real significant thought processes and intelligent people who were thinking, higher education is dead as a result of this. It's going away. And of course, the opposite has happened. And I was looking it up yesterday because I thought it was really interesting. I was curious what the number was. How much? There's a couple things that I was curious about. One, how much does it cost to go to Stanford? Right. And I was like, because I know I didn't go to college here in the United States. I'm from Canada originally. And, I know how much it cost me to go to college or university in Canada.
Just out of curiosity, what was it back then?
It was like $3,000-$4,000.
I know. I think William and Mary was $6,000 back in, a long time ago.
Back when you went to college. We'll just say that back when I went to college. Yeah.
Which is, and we have a nephew going to University of Tennessee. Shout out to Grayson Stanley. And it's way more than $6,000. It's crazy how expensive it is. But how much is Stanford?
So Stanford right now, all in, and I'm going to look down because I don't want to get it wrong. Stanford all in, and this includes like approximate cost of housing, like books, everything that you need to do is about $96,000. Now the tuition portion of that is like more than two thirds of that. So it's about $96,000 on average, whether you're in state or out of state, to go to Stanford.
So per year. Why wouldn't you just do the open education? Because Stanford's free. You could just take the courses for free.
And that kind of led me to the next thing that I was curious about, right? So if it costs that much money to go to Stanford and you can get access to the majority, right? Exactly.
Same education.
For free or next to nothing if you maybe get their certification programs or what have you online. What's happened to Stanford's business model? Like what's happened to their business in the last, 14 years or so since they did this? So get this, because this is amazing. In 2012, they reported about $4 billion in revenue. Okay, as a university or as a business. 2024, which is the last number that I could find, $9.5 billion. So since they started giving away their information, and admittedly, these two things are not necessarily directly related but I would think naturally we would think, all right, if you're giving away your information, who's paying for this thing, right? And
they've actually made more money.
They've made it's like 138% increase in revenue. Like, this is gross revenue since they did this.
And I think, it's because you don't want to have to sift through all of that information. You want to go in a classroom with a like-minded community and have a relationship with your professor and be able to ask questions and be able to customize it to you. I mean, I think that ties into what our online students are experiencing right now with this shift that there's never been more online, but it's never been harder to apply it to me. It feels like I think the student's saying it's not my job to translate that. It's your job to do that. It's your job to create the content, to design the method, and to translate it to me so that I get that instant gratification moment. And I was talking to a fellow course creator about this, and we were talking about the fact that it feels like a tiny little gap. Like, we work so hard to over deliver. I know at Sage, like, we have a group coaching program. We literally spend much of our lives figuring out how to be unreasonably helpful, to get our students off the blank page, to get them to take action, to get them the result. We are constantly reverse engineering and engineering what we could do to make it easier for them to take what we're teaching them and actually use it and get results. And it feels like it's not that big a gap. Like, I was thinking of that visual of the Sistine Chapel, and Michelangelo has this beautiful painting on the top of the Sistine Chapel and on the roof or the ceiling. And it's basically God and this man, and, they're reaching to one another. I don't know, the team could probably put the visual up so you could see, but their fingers are like this far apart in the painting. And I was thinking, it's funny because God is reaching and the man is kind of like,
he's not, he's kind of like this.
Like,
yeah. He's actually not even reaching. He's like, I don't think I'm going to do it. Yeah. It's like, he's not willing to do this. He's just like, can't you reach the whole way?
He's kind of lounging.
Yeah, here.
God's doing all the work.
Yeah, God's like reaching out to him, and he's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like our students,
it's
right?
Kind of like our students, because here's the thing, that gap to us that looks like an inch wide, I think to our students is a mile wide. I think that's how they see it.
And it's also where they get lost.
Yeah. That gap is where they get lost, 100%.
Yeah.
That's where I was headed.
Well, and well,
that is the delivery gap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to name it, right? Like, let's name it so that we can kind of refer to it as something moving forward. That gap between what you're teaching, what your students are learning, and their ability to translate it and action it to get results, that gap is the delivery gap. An inch wide to you, a mile or more wide to them. And I think that's what we all have to figure out how to close. Now, like, that's the shift, is how do we close the delivery gap?
I was going to say that I love that you said that's the shift. I agree with you. And I think not only that, but that gap between student and teacher is actually getting wider, right? It's getting wider and wider and wider, to the point where if you continue to teach the way you are teaching right now, it's just going to keep going. And what we need to do, because the student still wants the outcome, right? The student, we just said this with Stanford, they still want the result. They still want the transformation that you provide. But instead of them having to reach up and do this, what they're looking for is for you, instead of just pointing and like the gap getting farther away, they're looking for you to grab their hand and pull them forward.
Yes.
Right? So rather than teaching them how to get the result, rather than teaching them how to get the outcome, rather than teaching them how to get the transformation, they're wanting you to just provide it.
Yeah. They are. It's not enough just to learn anymore. Like, now the goal is, I want you actually to deliver. And so I think for those of us who have been promising results, you could do that in the past: low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket offers. And you'd say, this is what it will do for you. I'm going to promise you these results. But the reality is, right now, promising results isn't enough. I think our students are like, yeah, show me the money, like, deliver the results. I need to actually see the results, and I need to see them quickly, and I need to see them on my terms. So if I'm going through your coursework at 2 a.m, and I have that moment of need at 11 at night, 2 a.m, 8 a.m, noon, it doesn't matter if it's regular work hours or overnight, I want you to help me solve it then. I don't want to have to wait a week or a month or a day for you to help me translate it.
And I think this is where, AI really can come in, right? And it's not so much in the way it exists right now with ChatGPT and this like, or Claude or Perplexity or Grok or whatever your flavor of choice is, where you as the student log in to like a custom GPT that's been trained on everything I know. The problem with that is the student still needs to know what question to ask. Right?
I want you to say that again. I think so many people miss that because a lot of us are in this, I'll give them a prompt. I'll give them a prompt recipe. I'm going to, try to help. It's either I'm going to provide the service and they'll figure out what to ask, or, oh, okay, well, maybe I could give them a prompt that might help them figure it out. But then if the prompt takes them to a certain place and you haven't figured out the next prompt, they literally don't know what to ask.
Yeah. And I think so. The answer is not open, and these not these open-ended conversations that we have with chat, because I don't know about you, but I know oftentimes for me, I start a conversation with chat about a specific topic or Claude or whatever, and it kind of meanders to something completely different, right? Like we have these squirrel moments, the same way we have them in conversation. Like we're sitting here having a conversation about, the shift, and all of a sudden we're talking about boating on a Monday. The reality is that flow, that happens naturally with chat and with Claude and AI, just generally the way it is. So as students or as teachers, as creators, we have to provide them with a more bespoke journey that takes them from one spot. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but I was about to say that because if I'm on a private client call, to go back to the difference between bespoke one-to-one and group coaching, on a private call, a lot of my clients, entrepreneurs, right? They're all amazing, super successful entrepreneurs, lots of bright, shiny object moments, lots of squirrel moments. Part of what they're paying me for is to rein them in, to bring them back and get the result. By the end of this call, we're going to nail this outcome, this result. And I know which questions to ask and how to rein them in. I can't tell you how many of them would never show up to a call knowing which questions to ask me. They show up going, okay, what are we going to do today?
Totally.
What questions do you have for me? And then I extract information from them and then we put it together. So, for years it'd be like, okay, and that's why I charge 6 figures and a percentage for that because that's my time. But today's student is like, I don't want to pay you that much and I want that experience.
Exactly. And the good news is you can do that with AI.
Yes.
Right. And you can, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. One of the things you and I actually have coming up in the next couple of weeks,
which is really important because I wanted to say one thing about that. There was like one little moment. There was like the little,
the little bow
on the end of the conversation, is that all of this could put you into a bit of a panic.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hearing all of this and you're thinking, okay, great, you guys. So I've been with you for 3 podcasts now. And what I'm hearing is, man, we're in trouble. There's a big shift happening. And yes, AI can help fix it, but we've been using it the wrong way. And our students want more and they want it differently and they want it instantly. And we have to meet them in their moment of need. And the old way of teaching and the old way of doing is not working anymore. So what do? This is where
the shift
we have
comes
a solution.
We do. So we're in the next couple of weeks, we have a 3-day event where we're going to be going through exactly what we're talking about, how to meet your audience in their moment of need and how to use AI, not as a productivity tool for yourself. We all need to do that, but how to turn it around and take AI and help your students get transformation, get results, or get outcomes, as we say, faster, easier, and with way less effort, right? So how to get AI to do this like that.
Yeah. No more of this. Don't even have to do that.
No. We're just going to grab them and pull them forward.
Get it done.
Exactly.
I honestly think that the ability to make that shift and the people who make it first is going to matter a lot. I think this is one of those early adoption curves that we talk about a lot, where it's not just adopting AI, it's how you use AI. Right now, a lot of creators are using AI to make themselves faster, themselves better. Like, I'm using AI and you can't imagine the work product I'm getting done. You can't imagine how many things I'm making happen. You can't imagine how much free time I've created in my day using AI. They haven't yet started to really think about how to use AI to get their students results faster. And that's where the shift comes in and the training that we're going to be doing.
Exactly. So if you want details, head on over to shiftevent.ai. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Shiftevent.ai. And I think this is the equivalent of like buying Bitcoin in 2010 or 2012 or early days, right? When it was super easy to mine and you're like, oh, I got like 5 coins for $10, right? And today it's, I don't know what today's rate is, but it's like, $60,000 per Bitcoin. That's the equivalent of getting in on this early and starting to adjust how you deliver your content, but more importantly, how you deliver results, how you deliver transformation, how you deliver outcomes to your clients. That's where we're headed.
That's where we're headed. That's the shift.
There you go. So with that, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We have a couple more episodes left in our, well, let's just call it limited run podcast. And who knows, maybe if you are liking this, if you subscribe, if you leave a comment below asking us questions, maybe I can convince Barry to keep doing this for a couple episodes beyond our limited run.
We'll see. We'll see. But we do read all your questions, every single one. So if you have questions or thoughts or insights from this, absolutely leave them for us. And what's the little tease of the next episode? Why should they tune into our next episode of The Shift?
I'm just going to say it's a surprise.
Let me just say we're going to go deeper on the solution. So
yeah, listen, we don't want to just leave you with questions. We want to leave you with answers. Yeah. So join us for the next episode. We'll start to dive into the how, right? How to actually deliver results the way we're talking about it.
But for more than we can do in a podcast, because there's only so much you can do in a podcast, join us for the Shift Live.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Shiftevent.ai. All right. Bear Baumgartner, you ready to, what's going on this week? Are we going back to Merle's for the weekend?
We have, we're going to, we love comedy.
Oh yeah.
So we have that comedy show that we're going to, little Nikki Glazer in our future on Saturday night.
Yes.
And then Sunday, I'm going to get you up early. I'm going to get you to drive me to Merle's Inlet. I'm going to get you to take me out on that pontoon boat. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to convince you to stay and have a work from the boat Monday again.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So I can make it so that it's not a surprise to me when this happens?
It should not be a surprise.
It should not be. Okay. All right. So Mondays from the boat, Mondays from the pontoon boat.
And I'm doing everything I can to clear the calendar. So it can be like kind of a lazy creative day instead of a hardcore work on your computer on the boat day. So
no more Zoom calls from the pontoon boat.
Maybe one.
Although it's amazing how well that worked, right? With the just we
even that, like if you had told me years ago that we would have been able to have the life we have, the business we have, and that we would have been able to run it from our boat, I would not have believed you. And it's amazing how easy it is. That's part of why we're here.
It is.
There should be more days like that in your future, not just in ours.
More boat days, people. More boat days. All right, y'all. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for subscribing. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.